you put in when you're doing a study in science and you put in a microbe to see how well it ties in with another microbe, and then that's how you test out whether chemical reactions to things, what colors do they change to, what are the metabolic makeup of it. So that's what we ended up doing with this living lab project that I'm doing with a biophysicist. So me and Rashida Hawk, Dr. Rashida Hawk is a biophysicist, and so she knows how to like break everything down to its basic chemical components. And we were finding that that's the same thing that artists do. You know, they broke things down to their chemical components to make a lizard crimson, which is a bright red color that's the use of different chemicals. A lizard, and then crimson is a mixture, or cobalt blue, cobalt red, magnesium white. All of these are just different things, concoctions that came from an artist's tubes, figuring out how to make something work and stay consistent on the wall for centuries. You know, and the other things that I think that we don't look at is the chemical nature and the science nature of even still photography. You know, I had to use hypo, D76, and then color development was high science on temperature, development, and all of that. Just even filmmaking itself is a new industry, you know, and it uses a bunch of science in order for the process to work, from reading light meters, understanding the different densities and consistencies of light and how it falls on objects, and all of these things are high sciences, you know. And the same thing with this new technology. These are high sciences. You know, it's a mixture of how do you pull. So what we did was we pulled out the guts of this and then saw that it had a basic old school computer. So one of our members, Andrew, is a kind of a computer hacker. So he looked at this and then worked with a Raspberry Pi to then intercede the computer that's there and added a 21st century computer in it. So once you add that, you can do everything from touchscreen TV to USB ports to making each button have its own categorization. So you can have as many different designations for what we're doing here. It could be skin game, it could be history, it could be, you know, whichever series of numbers that you're wanting to put together with your cell phone or with actual touch to be able to engage more information about things, you know. So whatever cultural designation, you could make it where, like we're looking now at even the tap card. Those tap cards are really interesting things. So you could make it where you mail the people a tap card, so it makes it so they could not only go through the metro system, but go through your system. So they tap through and even come up to your phone, you know, up to your object, and then it taps in information as to where to go, or a game, or, you know, wherever we're wanting to lead them. We could start engaging all the new technologies in ways that are specifically bent on our culture. And what I mean is it doesn't leave us out, and if we do it holistically, it'll include everybody. So it's not a thing where it's an exclusive thing on trying to cut people out. It's a humanistic look at the new technologies and a way to engage things in a way where it's not done just for me sake, in the sense of how our culture has bred things right now. We can open it up and make it more humanistic and more open for everybody. So a homeless could get a tap card, you know?
Right.
So it's just so we can open these, so it's open sources, but our methodology is.
Right.
You know,
Right.
So that whole open source concept, I think, is an emancipating thing, and Black people should use it more and more, because it's a good way, it's a holistic way to go at capitalism. Because you see it, one, in Google, it wins, and Facebook, is that open source freeness that the internet really inspired. It is something that inspired my business here from the moment I started it, because I started it with that holistic open source method that I had done working with Electronic Cafe. So I've been kind of using that throughout. Because we even did our LA Rebellion like that. It was like an open, free system that we could create, and we found that, you know, we were able to do all this works by just us collectively working together. And for some reason, money shows up, and talent shows up, and you just get that little animal up and moving, then you know, it unfolds.
Right.
That I'm seeing now.
Right. And what's this part up here? Is this the speaker?
Yeah, this is the speaker.
Hi, you're invited to contribute, Ace.
So we made this so it's reflection. This was Rudy's idea. He made this as a reflection of the art of noise, that first group of technicians in the turn of the 20th century, 19th to the 20th century. They made sound designs, and they were calling it the art of noise. So they put up a whole group of speakers together. And so we thought we would make it reflective of the very first time that sound was generated. So it kind of has an iconic image that it draws on these icons more than anything else, because even this was an indication of something else in the past that it isn't now, because you don't really need that. You can use it like a cell phone you shoot this with. You know, it's totally changed what that's about. And the same thing with the designations of these numbers. They don't dial anything except what we want them to now. And then this carriage works real good because it was made to protect the money, so it's like a vault. So you don't have to worry about people breaking in this once you've been able to hack it and make it work. So all of these extenuating things are things that we found that were needed. You know, USB ports so you can charge your phones and things like that. And then a hot mic so you can rap and sing and dance and do karaoke or call people or use it for announcements.
Plugs here for you to charge your...
plugs for charging. And then I've made this actually run off a solar panel. So with the solar panel, that is what you can imagine in third world countries where they don't have electricity. This could be a real beacon for a culture where we're the real light, you know, because we can bring in light when everything else is being shut down, and then also be a charging station in a place where they don't have a lot of charging stations. So that's something that I'm trying to do this concurrent with like thinking instantly of this also going to Africa.
Yeah, that was fabulous. It also has a look to it of an African sculpture.
And then with the computer, create a group of buttons that and you can play between it. Up on the beats. So if you can imagine or create beats and then send that to SoundCloud. That's part of what this process you're thinking of.
Right, right, right. So that people can see sitting even as a creative act.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
An engagement piece, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So we're even thinking of the autonomous vehicles as being an instrument too. So there's just different ways that we can kind of rethink how we do things. You know, because the way that I started looking at things is just if we relax and just create, it ends up being like a toy in one of the buses that they have in any one of our third world countries, how they have all of the gadgets, images,
right,
tropes, and juju, and all kinds of things on it. And so if we could start imbuing our world, our new world, in a way that has the reflections of our past, but it doesn't have to be like drum,
right,
but it could be the things that are around it that we used as design motifs.
right,
you know,
right.
that we kind of integrate these kinds of concepts of how we cut into wood and did you know, like basic designs and all these kinds of things we could start really re-looking at, and then you know, 21st century them, you know, and not do it where we're apologetic about it or saying that we're becoming white, you know. I think we have to just boldly go into the future in a black way, like Sun Ra, like Fela, you know, George Clinton,
Right.
and all
Right.
those guys, you know, Jimi Hendrix.
Right.
We have to kind of use that as a template to how we're going to engage technology. Don't do it apologetically. Do it just boldly, like Little Richard walking on a grand piano. You know, it has to be a different way to kind of see things, so you can make that big turnaround. You know, because I know when I first saw Little Richard putting his feet on the piano keys, I was like, what is this nigga doing? You know?
Right.
You know, but he was like breaking all the boundaries. He's like, oh, I'm in it, you know. And so I think that those are the kinds of things that we're the best at. It's like, it's breaking that cosmic egg, you know, that they could grow out and have that magic realism in life.
Wow.
What's her name? Wilson, who did we're still really remembering her for the Afro Geek thing because it got us together.
Yes, yes.
So is she still?
Yeah, no, she's still there.
Because she would also be an interesting person to engage in that manner.
Right.
And then because the other thing that I think with this open source thing that I see that works the best is by really building on what has happened, so we won't rebuild wheels.
Right.
Because so I think her Afro Geek thing is a good build up for that, and I don't know how your school deals with it, but I think that would be a good way to kind of repurpose and and then build up from a fantastic base that she did. Because when I first went, two of the people that she had there, the woman who did the trees, and the brother who started Microsoft College in Ghana, both of them got MacArthur grants since I last, saw her.
Right.
And so I think that and so what we're trying to do here is to emulate some of those things that she was able to put together. Because later I even got to meet with her, with some of the people that were there, and one of them was a woman who did study eclipse, and she was an astrophysicist.
Right.
And so just the whole idea of talking to them instead of astrology,
was
really an important bust through to me.
Right.
So just having the women components that she kind of curled in on what Afrofuturism is in a way.
Right.
Or what white folks might call it. I think that if we have that as a part of the African Studies department.
Right.
To think of the future as a part of it, not just the past.
Right, exactly.
So I would say that would be something for the HBCs to look into.
Right.
Is to see how they can do some futuristic work.
Right, right,
And,
right.
And I worked with Howard University that way when I was there, because they would throw their future projects on me.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked this. So there was one piece that we were doing up and down link with island of Zanzibar.
Mm-hmm.
We were going to wiring. But you know, the internet changed things, so it
Right.
made it where their investment, which was multi-million dollars, it kind of
Right, I know. You're in old
changed overnight.
technology.
Yeah, because they had a 2-story up and down link satellite thing on campus when they first, and it was, you know, the first of its kind and stuff like that. But by the time, you know, 84, 85 hit, it was then an archaic object.
Right.
But still,
But that impulse you're talking about, because I did a piece on Norman Lewis, and I read him as a pre-Afrofuturist with his abstractions. And that whole dimension is something that's usually de-emphasized because it doesn't immediately seem like identity politics. But it really is a long strain we have of futuristic, astrological, astronomical thinking, cosmological thinking in the Black community.
yeah, and I think it merges with the past very well.
Right.
And so that's what we're finding is in some ways, in some ways it seems like we're dusting off what we already knew. You
Right.
know? And
Especially with the Egyptians and all that they did.
yeah, and the Dinkras, because we've been doing the study with the Dinkras, that they're almost like QR codes. You know, they're like specifically made to scan almost.
Wow.
And so these are kinds of things that we're finding, and I think we'll find that there's that propensity in our people that has been reawakened.
Right.